Get ready, folks, because today we're diving headfirst into a topic that's way more exciting than it sounds at first.
That's right. We're talking about structured content.
Structured content, you say. It really doesn't sound exciting when you just say it like that.
Well, it is, trust me. And it's not just for us techies either. This is something that can seriously level up anyone's communication game.
See, now that's what I'm talking about. Because who doesn't want to be a better communicator?
Exactly. This is about getting your message across with more impact, more efficiency.
More oomph.
Okay, more oomph. And to help us unpack all of this, we're tapping into the wisdom of a true expert.
Oh, yeah. We were really inspired by this LinkedIn article we came across. It's by Curt Robbins, who's a senior technical writer, and he really breaks down the what and the why of structured content in a way that just clicked for us.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate about Kurt's take is that he emphasizes how this isn't just about making life easier for writers, it's about creating a better experience for everyone involved.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's make sure everyone's on the same page. What exactly is structured content? I mean, we throw that term around a lot.
We do. Basically, we're talking about organizing and presenting information in a way that follows specific rules and standards.
So it's not just about making things look pretty.
Well, it can be part of it, but it's more about creating a clear and consistent framework for your information. Think of it like building a house. You wouldn't just start piling up bricks and hoping for the best, would you?
I mean, I've tried. Let's just say it didn't end well.
Right. You need a blueprint. You need measurements. You need a clear understanding of how each element fits together. That's what structured content does for information. It provides that underlying framework.
So instead of just throwing words on a page and hoping they stick, you're carefully crafting those words into reusable blocks of information.
Exactly. Blocks that can be assembled, disassembled, and reassembled in a million different configurations.
It's like that classic Lego analogy, right? You've got all these different pieces, but they all fit together in a way that lets you build almost anything you can imagine.
Exactly. And just like with Legos, those building blocks of structured content can be incredibly powerful.
And just like with Legos, if you step on them barefoot, it's incredibly painful. But we digress. And this is where things get really interesting for me. Because, okay, structured content, Lego blocks, I get it. But how does this actually play out in the real world?
Well, think about it this way. How often do you find yourself explaining the same thing over and over again, just in slightly different ways?
Oh, all the time. It's like my brain is stuck on repeat sometimes.
Exactly. And that's where structured content can be a game changer. Because instead of reinventing the wheel every time you need to communicate something, you're creating these reusable chunks of information that can be adapted and plugged in wherever they're needed.
So instead of saying, oh, I already wrote about that and that other thing, let me go find it, you're like, boom, here it is, ready to go.
Precisely. And Curt actually uses a really cool analogy in his article. He talks about how SpaceX reuses their rockets to launch multiple missions. It's about applying that same principle to information.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But explain to me like I'm, say, a hamster on a wheel. Because I'm not quite making the connection to my own little world just yet.
Okay, so let's say you've written this amazing explanation of a complex concept for your company's website. With traditional writing, you might end up repeating yourself, slightly tweaking that explanation every time you need to include it in a different context, like a presentation or a brochure.
Oh, I've totally been there. It's like my copy-paste function gets a workout.
Exactly. But with structured content, you craft that perfect explanation once, and then you can reuse it across all of your communications.
So it's less about writing from scratch every single time, and more about having these pre-built modular explanations that you can just plug and play wherever you need them.
You got it. And that means less time rewriting, less redundancy, and most importantly, a consistent message across all of your communications.
Okay, see now, that's something I can get behind. Because consistency is huge. Whether you're talking about a brand, a product, or even just your own personal reputation, consistency builds trust.
It absolutely does. It shows your audience that you're reliable, that you know what you're talking about, and that they can count on you for clear, accurate information.
It's like you're building a relationship with your audience based on clarity and consistency.
Exactly. And that's something that's becoming more and more valuable in today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with information from all sides.
It's like you're speaking the same language as your audience, literally and figuratively. But, and maybe this is just me, I always get a little intimidated when we start talking about the how of structured content.
You mean the tools and tech?
Yeah, exactly. Because Curt's article mentioned a few things like DIT, XML, and DocBook. And to be totally honest, It all just sounded a bit like alphabet soup to me.
Well, those are some of the specific formats and languages used in structured content, so it's totally understandable if they sound a little foreign at first.
Foreign, like trying to read a menu in a language I don't understand. But here's the thing. At its core, structured content is still just about, well, structuring content, right?
Exactly. The tools and formats are really just there to make that process more efficient and scalable. Think of it like, say, building a website. You could code the whole thing from scratch if you wanted to.
Oh, please no.
Right. Or you could use a content management system like WordPress, which provides a lot of that underlying structure for you, so you can focus on the content itself rather than getting bogged down in the technical details.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's about choosing the right tool for the job, just like with anything else. But let's say someone is listening to this and they're thinking, okay, I get it, structured content is cool and all, but I'm not about to become a tech writer anytime soon. What are some key takeaways they can start applying to their own work, even if they're not diving into the super technical stuff?
I'm glad you asked that. Because you don't need to be a tech writer to benefit from thinking about information in a more structured way.
So, like, what would be a good starting point?
Well, the next time you're working on a piece of content, whether it's an email, a presentation, or even just a to-do list, take a moment to think about how you can break down that information into smaller, more manageable chunks.
So it's about looking for those natural breaks and divisions within the information itself.
Exactly. And then think about how you can organize those chunks in a way that makes sense, both logically and visually. Can you use headings, bullet points, or even just white space to create a clearer flow?
It's like you're applying the principles of good design, but to information instead of images or graphics.
I love that because it's so true. When you think about it, good communication is all about good design. It's about presenting information in a way that is both aesthetically pleasing and easy to digest. And on that note, I think we've given our listeners a lot to chew on today.
We have. We've covered a lot of ground. From the nitty-gritty of structured content to the broader principles of clear and effective communication. So, to wrap things up, remember, whether you're writing a technical document or just trying to get your point across in an email, a little structure can go a long way.
Couldn't agree more.
So until next time, stay curious, stay organized, and keep those communication channels flowing.